The snow fell softly outside my mother's enormous dining room window. Inside, the scene was cold in a different way. Christmas Eve dinner was always a show. My brother, Thomas, was holding court, telling some exaggerated story about his golf game. My mother watched him with a proud smile. I was quiet, pushing my food around my plate. I watched Mrs. Dale, our housekeeper for 20 years, quietly refill water glasses. My mother snapped her fingers. "The napkin fold is wrong, Dolores. Fix it." She used Mrs. Dale's first name like it was an insult. I saw Mrs. Dale's hands shake. After the tense meal, I went to the kitchen to help carry out dessert. I found Mrs. Dale by the sink, wiping her eyes with a tissue. "I'm so sorry about the napkin," I said quietly. She shook her head. "It's not that, dear. It's Christmas." My heart ached for her. I offered to drive her home later so she wouldn't have to take the bus. My mother appeared in the doorway. She had been listening. Her face was a mask of tight anger. Conspiring with the staff, she asked, her voice sharp. I stood up straight. I was being kind. She deserves respect. The air in the kitchen froze. Thomas wandered in, a smug grin on his face. He loved when I was in trouble. My mother's eyes narrowed. "After everything I have given you, this is your gratitude? You are a spoiled, ungrateful girl." She took a step closer. "Consider yourself removed from my will. I will call Mr. Finch tomorrow and have him draft the paperwork." She stared at me, waiting for the tears, the begging. I felt a strange, calm emptiness. This was her biggest threat, and she had used it. I looked at her furious face, then at Thomas's pleased smirk. I didn't say a word. I walked to the front hall, took my coat from the polished rack, and left. I didn't slam the door. The cold night air felt clean and free. I drove to my small apartment across town. I didn't cry. I made a cup of tea and sat down at my desk. Out of habit, I opened my work laptop to check my email. I worked as a senior paralegal at Wallace & Associates. We specialized in wills, trusts, and estates. My boss, Mr. Wallace, trusted me completely. I managed his calendar and his main email inbox. On Christmas morning, I scrolled through the messages. One subject line made my breath catch. It said, "Urgent, will revision for Eleanor Miller." The sender was Arthur Finch. He was my mother's lawyer. He had a habit of sending emails to the wrong address. My hands were trembling as I clicked open the email. It wasn't the legal document itself. It was the detailed instructions from Finch to his assistant. It read, "Per client Vivian Miller's directive, remove daughter Eleanor as beneficiary from all trusts and properties. Leave a bequest of $1 to satisfy legal requirement. Primary beneficiary becomes son Thomas, with full access at age 35. It listed everything. The main house, the vacation home, the stock portfolio. The email kept going. It included a note that made my stomach turn. Client states reason is profound ingratitude and spiteful behavior towards family. He had written down her cruel words. I sat back in my chair stunned. She was really doing it. And her own lawyer had accidentally sent me the entire plan. A powerful thought cut through my shock. Information is power. I did not reply to the email. I saved it in a secure, private folder on my computer. 3 days after Christmas, a new email from Finch arrived. The subject line was, "Urgent recall, please disregard prior email." Sent in error. He had realized his mistake. I wrote back a short, professional reply. Message received and deleted per your request. No further action taken. This was technically true. I had not forwarded it. But I had taken action. I had saved it. Now I knew the exact value of everything I was supposed to pretend I didn't want. I poured myself into my work. A new client, an older woman named Beatrice, was a joy. She was sharp and kind. She had no immediate family and a sizable estate. She needed a full estate plan. Mr. Wallace handled the meetings, but I did all the preparation. Beatrice took a liking to me. "You have a calm spirit," she told me over tea one afternoon. We began meeting weekly to talk about her wishes for her money. In mid-January, my mother called. Her voice was sugary sweet. "I hope you've had time to reflect on your behavior, Eleanor." She was waiting for an apology. "I've reflected on many things," I said. She sounded annoyed. "The offer to put you back in the will is still open, if you show proper remorse." She thought I was negotiating for her money. I was not. I told her I had to go for a client meeting. She hung up, confused and angry. The client meeting was with Beatrice. She wanted to leave a large part of her money to a local arts museum. But she needed a smart, honest person to manage the fund as a trustee. "I need someone with integrity," she said, looking right at me. Mr. Wallace suggested a bank. Beatrice shook her head. "I was thinking of an individual. Someone like Eleanor." I was speechless. My professional skills, the thing my mother mocked, were being recognized in the best way. Weeks went by. Thomas posted pictures online of a new luxury car, a holiday gift from Mom. I focused on Beatrice's plans. The final documents named me as the trustee for a $2 million charitable fund. I would receive a fair annual fee for managing it. This was real, earned responsibility. It would provide me with a steady, independent income for years. It was my own legacy, separate from my mother's world. In February, a formal document arrived at my work email. It was the official codicil, or change, to my mother's will. Finch's office sent it to our firm as a courtesy. It landed in my inbox to process. I held the paper that made my $1 inheritance official. I logged it into our system, filed it away, and said nothing. The emotional tie was cut. Now it was just a piece of paper in a file. My mother threw a huge birthday party for herself in March. I was not invited. Thomas posted many pictures. In one photo, I saw our cousin Lillian in the corner, looking unhappy. Lillian and I had always been close. She texted me later. "Your mom is telling people you joined a cult to explain why you're not here. It's getting weird." I had to laugh. Her lies showed how desperate she was to control the story. Beatrice's estate plan was finished. She passed away peacefully in her sleep in April. I was sad, but I knew she was ready. The reading of her will was simple. When the lawyer announced my role as trustee, a few of Beatrice's distant relatives grumbled. But the will was legal and strong. I now had a serious job, a purpose, and financial independence that came from my own work. Now the quiet part of my plan began. My mother thought she had won by filing the codicil. She didn't know I knew all about her finances. I started using that knowledge in an ethical way. I talked to a few charities she gave small donations to. I encouraged them to start big fundraising campaigns. I knew she would feel social pressure to give large, public gifts. It was a way to gently redirect her money. Thomas called me in May. He sounded nervous. "Mom's been donating a lot of money lately. It's affecting the future numbers." He was worried about his future inheritance. I pretended I didn't understand. "It's her money, Thomas. She can do what she wants with it." He got frustrated and hung up. The first crack in their team had appeared. Greed is a powerful force. Summer arrived, and so did the charity gala season. My mother loved these fancy parties. At one gala for the city orchestra, I was there in my professional role. I was discussing a grant from the Beatrice Fund. My mother saw me from across the room. She marched over, her eyes flashing. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. Before I could speak, the event chairwoman rushed over. "Eleanor." Thank you for the foundation's generous grant. My mother's face was a perfect picture of confusion and rage. She had no idea I had my own foundation to manage. She turned and walked away without another word. Later, a banker visiting our office mentioned a difficult client. Like Vivian Miller, he sighed, suddenly giving huge sums away. We have to run extra checks on the transactions. I just nodded. Her impulsive spending was now a red flag to professionals. In September, Thomas showed up at my apartment door. He was sweating. We have a real problem, he said. Mom's been using the core money from the trust to pay for her donations and her shopping. The financial advisor is panicking. If she doesn't stop, there will be a huge tax bill and the trust will shrink. He wanted me to help talk sense into her. I shook my head. She doesn't listen to me. You're the favorite. You deal with it. I closed the door. The disaster happened in October. My mother's big donations and spending created a massive capital gains tax bill. The cash in her trust wasn't enough to pay it. The only solution was to sell assets. They had to sell her beloved mountain vacation home. Then they had to sell her collection of classic cars. These were the exact assets she had proudly willed to Thomas in the email I had seen. Panic erupted. Finch, the lawyer, and the financial advisor had a loud meeting with my mother. She refused to believe the money wasn't endless. She blamed them for bad advice. Thomas was furious. He had been counting on those assets. Their perfect alliance broke apart into shouting and blame. I received a formal letter from Finch's office. Due to changed financial circumstances, they were reviewing the will for tax efficiency. The prize was disappearing. The downfall sped up. To pay the taxes, they sold the mountain house quickly and at a low price. The classic cars sold at auction for less than they were worth. The fortune that seemed so solid was melting away because of her pride and bad choices. Thomas, watching his inheritance vanish, got into a screaming fight with my mother in her driveway. Neighbors called the police to report a disturbance. In early December, the final blow came. The bank, worried about the shrinking trust, petitioned the court. A judge appointed a professional conservator to manage my mother's finances. This was for her own protection. She lost all control. She could not write a check for more than a small amount without permission. The power she had always used to control people was gone. Thomas, seeing the money was gone, moved to another state for a job. On Christmas Eve, 1 year later, I was in my own living room. My tree twinkled softly. I was cooking dinner for a few close friends. An envelope arrived in the mail. It was from the conservator's office. Inside was a check for $500 and a note. Per the original trust rules, a fixed annual sum must go to all living children. This is your distribution. The money didn't matter. The principle did. The law, which even she couldn't break, acknowledged my existence. My phone lit up. It was my mother's number. I didn't answer. I looked at the check, then at the photograph of Beatrice on my bookshelf. I had built my own life, my own value, my own legacy. She tried to cut me out of her will, but she accidentally cut me free. And that freedom, quiet and sure, was the greatest gift of all. My peace was my victory, and no one could ever take it away.